All right, if you have the correct notes downloaded, they should look like this. P2 continued working with real numbers. We are continuing and understanding what are real numbers and what can we do with them, kind of back in our Algebra 1 review. But while you guys are downloading that, if you could listen up as we get to know somebody better. Today's person of the day is Ava. Ava, can you raise your hand so we can see where you are at? There she is. 2 truths and a lie about Ava. Number 1, I met One Direction when I was little. Number 2, I live 45 minutes away from Wheaton Academy. Or number 3, I have only moved one time. All right, which one's the lie? Raise your hand if you think it's number 1. I met One Direction when I was little. Okay, Mariah thinks it's a lie. All right, anyone else on that? Mariah might be the only one right. All right, is it number 2? I live 45 minutes away from what? I think it's not 45. I don't know. A few of us are on this one. All right, or is it number 3? I have only moved one time. Quite a few people think it's this one. Okay, Ava, which one's the lie? You've never moved, so that third one is the lie. But you do live 45 minutes away from what? Yep. Oh man, is it 45 minutes like with traffic or just always 45 minutes? Always 45. So what town are you in?
I'm in Hampshire.
Hampshire, okay. I'm kind of out that way. I'm in Elburn. I don't know if you know where Elburn is, but ours is 30-minute commute. But how is it after school going home?
After school, it's better.
Really? Okay, that's good. I have to go and pick up my kids from Wheaton Christian, which we're 45 minutes away from them, but it takes us like an hour to get home sometimes with traffic. So I'm glad that at least your drive, it's probably highway, if you can go, that's good. But I'm sorry that you have to get up so early and it's such a commute because that can be draining sometimes. And you have to share this story. When did you meet One Direction? What happened?
Okay, so my uncle lives in Hollywood and he was like friends with their like agent or something like that. So we got like backstage passes, like we got like photos.
Wow, very cool. That's really cool. Nice. All right. Were they kind people?
Yeah, they were very cool.
Oh, very cool. Ava, is there anything that you need a prayer for today? No. Okay. All right. If you guys could please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, God, I thank you so much for this day and God, just for what a gift it is. Lord, help remind us that each day is a gift from you. God, help us to live this day in light of that. Lord, give us opportunities to reflect you, to respond to you and your spirit. Lord, help us to be in tune to your spirit and what you would have for us in this day. God, I lift up Ava to you right now. Lord, I ask for rich blessings over her. Lord, continue to guide her, shape her, mold her into who you'd have her to be. Lord, I pray that as she's walking the steps of her day, that she'd be able to hear your voice and distinguish it from those around her. Lord, that she'd be bold and courageous to walk the steps you have for her. And God, that you would just continue to bless her, Lord, throughout everything that she does. And Father, I pray for each of these students. Lord, give them energy as the day is closing. Lord, I pray that they would have a great rest of their day. And Lord, that they'd be able to feel your presence within it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, we all have the notes downloaded. Feel good? Okay, you will be working with your partner a little bit today. So if you could turn to your partner and tell them, what is your favorite meal? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Jay, is your partner over here? Yes. Jack, are you a breakfast, lunch, or dinner guy?
Yeah.
Lunch. You're never hungry in the morning? Oh, man. So what's your favorite lunch to get? Chick-fil-A. It's a good one. It's a good one. Michael, how about you? Yeah. I'm the same. I'm a breakfast person. My mom always made these elaborate breakfasts. And so I think because of that, I always got like excited about breakfast. So. All right, guys, hopefully you know your partner a little bit better. You're going to be working with them today on some examples. And today we're really finishing up looking at what can you do with your order of operations and real numbers. Before we look at some more properties of real numbers, I want to direct you to some common mistakes I typically see. So this is a continuation from yesterday, but you'll see right away here in number 6, a student made a mistake. They multiplied the 2 and then performed the exponent. They did 2x plus 6 squared and they multiplied that out. What do we have to do first, multiplication or exponent? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Which one's first? Exponent, good. So let's go ahead and let's rework this one out correctly using the exponent first. So maybe give a note to yourself, always use the exponent first, or I should say probably simplify the exponent first. Let's go ahead and see how this would be done correctly. So we have 2 times quantity x plus 3 squared. We're going to perform the operation of that exponent, but do not call that x squared plus 9. That is not the correct answer. X plus 3 squared has to be simplified by thinking of it as x plus 3 times x plus 3. And then we have a 2 on the outside. Now, if you don't remember how to FOIL, you will need to do that really early on here in Algebra 2. So hopefully take this as your reminder. If you have a binomial times a binomial, or x plus 3 times x plus 3, you need to FOIL to simplify. Let's see what you guys remember. Do you remember what the F stands for in FOIL? First, good. So we do the first times the first. So in this case, x times x. X times x is x squared. What does the O stand for? Outer, good. So that was the F. The outer would be the x on the outside times the 3 on the outside. So that would be plus 3x. What does the I stand for? Inside. So I take the inside values, the 3 times the x, and that's plus 3x. And what does the L in FOIL represent? Last. So 3 times 3, those are both the last terms in the parentheses. So 3 times 3 would give me 9. I haven't worked with this 2 yet, so I'm going to show that this is still in parentheses and I have that 2 on the outside. Now, let's see what we can do inside the parentheses. There's some like terms there. What is 3x plus 3x? 6x. So we can simplify that. We have x squared plus 6x plus 9. And then I have that 2 on the outside. Tamikio. The 3 to begin? Oh, I'm just taking this problem here and I'm doing it correctly since the student made the mistake of not using the exponent first. So I'm sorry, I should have clarified that. This is the correct way to do it. All right, guys, what's the last thing we would do? Now that we've done the exponent, we need to multiply the 2. But do I just multiply the 2 to the x squared? No, I've got to distribute. So I'm going to distribute that all the way through. So I have distribute the 2, distribute the 2, distribute the 2. And that would give me 2x squared. Why this thing's doing that? Plus 12x plus 18. And then I can box it. That is the correct way to perform that. All right. Another mistake that I sometimes see are ones like number 7. Number 7, you have 3q over 2p minus 2r. You're evaluating by substituting in certain values. So the reader substituted in p as -4, 8 in for q, and -10 in for r. And you can see their work right here. Then they continued to go about the process. See if you can determine where their mistake was made. I'm going to walk around, circle it when you have that mistake made, or you found that mistake, and we'll check to see if we found it together. I feel the heart beneath my skin. I can feel the heart beating. 'Cause you make me feel like I'm alive again. Oh, you make me feel like I'm alive again.
pretty magical. And what she'd say, everything was a dream away. This way, yeah, diamonds taking shape. Yeah, diamonds taking shape.
All right, Mariah.
Where it says 2 times -4 minus 2 times -10.
Yes.
The -2 times -10 should be +20, but they have -20.
Excellent. Excellent. She found it. Did you guys find it? -2 times -10 should be a +20. So the student did a great job substituting values. But from here, they should go about this way. 24 over -8 plus 20, and then continue. Now, question, should I do this division or should I do this addition first? So it kind of gets tricky, like division comes before addition, but remember there's invisible parentheses around anything in a numerator or denominator. So I actually have to do this addition first because it has those parentheses that are invisible around it. So I'm going to add those first. -8 plus 20 gives me 12. And then I have 24 divided by 12, which will give me an answer of 2. So if you simplified it correctly, you should get an answer of 2. Hopefully you caught that mistake. A negative times a negative is positive. All right, let's keep working and seeing what else do we know to be true or false about working with real numbers. Do you know when you can change around the parentheses? If I have 4 times quantity 2m, can I change the parentheses and call it 4 times 2 times m? Will that give me the same answer? Will they both give me, what would 4 times 2m give me? 8m. What would 4 times 2m give me? 8m. So that is true. We can change around the parentheses there. Number 9, let's see what they did. They didn't add the parentheses first, but you can distribute. So they distributed in, and they had 4 over 3 plus 8 over 5. Then they continued about the problem, and they added 4 and 8 and 3 and 5 to get 12 over 8. Can we do that? What do you guys think? Turn to your partner and tell them, yes, you can do that, or no, you can't do that. Number 9.
No, because the addition is not the same.
Yeah.
It's like
All right, I heard it right up here at the front. Margot, can you tell me what you just said?
I said no because extension with fraction, you have to have the same common denominator.
Awesome. You need a common denominator. Need common, oh, that doesn't look like common. Need a common denominator. So this one would be false. You cannot just add numerators and add denominators. Number 10, let's see if you guys can catch this based off of what we did. X plus y squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. True or false? Anybody have an answer and a why to it? Mariah?
It would be true because if you put it into like the 2 binomials, then it would be like the FOIL would be.
Ooh, I love that you're starting with FOIL. That's how we want to think about it. X plus y times x plus y. Awesome. And then you would do x times x, right? Which is x squared. X times y gives me xy. Inside gives me xy. Last gives me y squared. And if there's nothing in front of the xy, we could like put a little 1 in for ourselves. Now these are like terms. What's 1xy plus 1xy?
2x.
2xy. Good. So we'd have x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. So are these the same? No. So what would we say about 10? True or false? False. I love that Mariah thought about that in terms of foiling. Sometimes we want to like jump to the shortcut. X times y squared would give you x squared y squared. But x plus y squared, we have to think, hey, you need to FOIL that out. All right, number 11. Can I just take away parentheses if I have x plus 2 times x minus 1 and call it x plus 2 times x minus 1 without the parentheses. No, we can't do that because here we have to FOIL, whereas in here you don't have to. You just times first. So this would be false again. How about number 12? Can we do 6 minus negative 5 and take away the parentheses and read it as 6 minus negative 5 without the parentheses? Shake your head, yes or no. What do you think about number 12? Oh, not too many shakes. Maybe there's just too many rules and it's starting to like, just a lot to remember. Josh, you shook your head. Can we do that? Yes, he's right. It's true. What happens when you minus a negative? It becomes a positive. So here it's a positive and here it's a positive. So the answer is 11. The answer is 11. Or if you would like to, whenever you see a negative, you could treat it as a negative 1. What's negative 1 times negative 5? Positive 5. So we have 6 plus 5 is still that 11. All right. Continuing with real numbers. All real numbers, this is kind of really big, especially as we start looking at more number lines. All real numbers can be graphed on the real number line. The numbers can be represented by little points or little dots. As you move in your level of progression of Algebra 2, you'll have an X number line and a Y number line. We call both of those real number lines. So the better we can understand one, the better we'll be able to understand the other. The way the number line works is the numbers get greater as you move to the right. They get smaller as you move to the left. So let's see if we can determine what is greater and what is smaller. Place the correct symbol, less than, greater than, or equal in the space. Is negative 4 less than negative 5, or is it greater than negative 5? It's to the right of negative 5 on the number line. So is it bigger or is it smaller? It's bigger. Do you guys remember probably from your Algebra 1, most math teachers see it as like an alligator, and they say the mouth has to be towards the bigger value. At least that was, I student taught with a middle school math teacher, and that's the way she described it. You want to make the mouth go towards the bigger one. So negative 4 is greater than negative 5. How about letter B? We should all know this. Is 2 less than or greater than 3? Less than. So let's make the mouth chomp towards the 3. Letter C. Does anybody know the square root of 2 off the top of their head? I would be impressed. I don't know it. It's close to this one, but I don't think it's not exactly. Well, it's not exactly 1.414. What could we do if we don't know what its decimal equivalent is? Calculator. So if you didn't bring your graphing calculator today, you will need to have it for Thursday. So just make sure that you're kind of aware of that. That's on your radar. But if I want to determine what is the square root of 2, I would press second x squared to get that square root symbol, 2. And I see that the decimal is 1.414213562. At least that's what it tells me. I know that square root of 2 is irrational. So class, let me ask you, does this decimal end here or does it keep going? Keep going because it's irrational. So right now I can put as many as I see, or just some of them. 1.414213. I'll do that.
So this is how like the math thing. So like this and math button.
Somebody told me about that. That's really cool. I'm going to try that in just a second. 213. You do have to be a good handwriter though, right? Because I've tried that. Well, this is typed. So you go here,
like
fully circle it.
Or so connect the circle.
Like
Yeah,
this.
like that. And then maybe we'll highlight it because it's text like a print out. Because I just like drew.
So if you draw it
and then circle it twice.
and then circle it, it's like, oh, you're solving a math
Yeah, and
problem.
then next thing you guys know.
Math.
And then you can click the evaluate.
Where's the
So
evaluate?
that's like an action.
Oh, wow. That's pretty nice. Okay, a little concerning to a math teacher with math homework.
I got it on a piece where I wanted to go and I was like, maybe you can take it down.
Huh, that's pretty cool. I just learned about that, so I did not know that, but wow, nice. All right, guys, if we have this decimal, which one is smaller, 1.414 or 1.414213? The one on the left, this one has more decimals, so it has more value. So I would say 1.414 is smaller than the square root of 2. All right, letter D, 5/8 and 0.625. If I don't know what decimal 5/8 is, what could I do? Calculate it. You could either do it by hand. You could say 5 divided by 8. Do you guys remember how to do long division? It's been a while. Let's see, if I call this 5.0, I'd say how many times does 8 go into 50? And that would be 6. 6 times 8 is 48. And then I'd subtract. 10 minus 8 is 2. And I'm going to bring down to 0. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract, bring down the 4, add another 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40, a remainder of 0. So what is 5/8 decimal? Yep, 0.625. Now you could have typed that in on your calculator. That's great. When I was in college, I was a cashier at a car dealership. And in order to be a cashier, they gave you a basic math test. And this was kind of one of the things they would assess, like, can you convert a fraction to a decimal? Can you do simple multiplication, addition, subtraction? They basically wanted to ensure that if you're handling a lot of money, you can do some math. So that's just always nice to review some of those old things. So in case you're applying to be a cashier or what have you, you can do well with that. So 5/8 is equal to 0.625. And how about letter E? Letter E. I could determine the decimal on the calculator. What if I said this is a non-calculator example? Any ideas what to do, Josh? Yeah, make the denominators the same. So I'll multiply this by 7/7. And this would be 7/21. And this would be 6/21. What's bigger, 7/21 or 6/21? 7. So I'd say 1/3 is bigger than 6/21. All right, last but not least, here in the prerequisite chapter, part 2, we review something that's very important to working with the real number line or in working with real numbers, and that is absolute value. Let me tell you, those of you who are more visually minded, like you learn better with visuals, you might want to think about absolute value in terms of the visual definition, which I'll show you in a moment. Those of you who are more algebraic or just number minded, you might just want to look at a lot of examples. We're going to do both. So here's the visual or the verbal. The absolute value of a number A, denoted by the absolute value of A, is the distance from A to 0 on the real number line. So for example, if you're asked what is the absolute value of -3, you're asked what is the distance from 0 to -3 on a number line. And that would be 3 units. So we just say algebraically the answer is 3. Or if I ask, what is the absolute value of 5? I'm really mathematically asking, what's the distance away from 0 to 5 on a number line? And that answer would be 5. Now, the question comes into play about what if you have a lot of things within an absolute value? You always work with the inside values first. So simplify what's inside, then calculate the distance from 0. So I'm going to go ahead and make a note, simplify inside first. Some math teachers like to think about it as think about them like they're parentheses, but then you do have to know that absolute value actually represents distance. All right, let's try letter A. Actually, you know what? I think you all could figure out letter A and letter B. Turn to your partner and tell them what's the answer for A and B. They should be the same.
4.
Oh, love it. Everybody said 4. Letter C. What is -1 minus 2? -3. What's the distance away from 0 to -3 on a number line? 3 units. Don't worry, these are going to get harder. Letter D. What happens when you minus a negative? Positive. Good. So what is 2 plus 1? 3. What's the absolute value of 3? 3. On to letter E. Letter E. What do you think I should do first? I always forget your name. I know Mariah and Margot, right?
Yeah.
Margot. Okay.
You have to find an absolute value of each one.
Nice. So should I do like 2 minus -12 first, or should I do something else?
Like the absolute value.
Oh, so you're thinking about them one at a time. That might work out, but just to make sure it always works out, evaluate the inside absolute value first. It might work out, but I don't know if it always does. I know this always does. If you do the inside absolute value first and then work out. So what's the inside absolute value? What's the absolute value of -12? 12. So I'm going to simplify that. And then I have 2 minus 12 that is still in absolute value. Now I'm going to keep working outer. What's 2 minus 12? -10. Now I take the absolute value. What is the absolute value of -10? 10. All right, letter F. Let's make it a little harder. What is the most inside absolute value? -2. So let's do this first. What is the absolute value of -2? 2. As soon as you do it, take it away and then keep everything else there. I'm going to give you a really hard one at the end. Now, if I look at the absolute value, it's 1 minus 2. What's 1 minus 2? -1. So this simplifies to -1, but I still have absolute value around it and copy everything else around it. Now, what is the absolute value of -1? 1. Good. So this turns out to be 1, and now copy everything around it. -1 minus 1. What is -1 minus 1? -2. Awesome. One thing I want to caution you with, I often get students saying, oh, whenever there's absolute value, the answer is always positive. That's not always true. You have to make sure that you're really working with inside and then all the way to the outside. All right, letter G. What do you think we have to do first? Oh, you can get a, oh, if they were adding, you would totally need that common denominator. In this case, you're multiplying. So we can make it 9/1. And then you can multiply across. You could say the absolute value of -9/3. What is -9/3? -3. And then what's the absolute value of -3? 3. So the answer is 3. All right, here is my challenge. And I know you guys can do this. If you are asked, what is the absolute value of 2 minus the absolute value of 3 plus the absolute value of 2 minus 4 of the absolute value of -1. Absolute value, absolute value. It's 1, 2, 3. So it's the absolute value of 2 minus the absolute value of 3 plus the absolute value of 2 minus 4 times the absolute value of -1. Work with the inside absolute value first.
This inside, the one for this is right, or the one next?
The one all the way like within other guys. So I'll start you guys off well. The inside should be -1. As soon as you find the absolute value of -1, you write it down and copy everything else around it. Oh, that's nice. I like that song. Sometimes people figure out how to hack Google and they hack it, but I just turn it off right away. So That's a problem. I have to get rid of Google, which is always sad. 'Cause I love Google. But we'll see how this works. All right, guys. Anybody want to take a stab at it, what they did? To make you? Yes. Inside what?
Each side, each is in a bracket.
They're each in an absolute value.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the last two, what is that?
These are absolute value marks.
Oh, it can be three in a row like that?
Yeah, it's a lot. Anybody want to take a stab at it? I want to call you Mariah. You're not. Margo.
Okay, this answer for it. Just so I don't.
That's not what I get.
Okay. Well, I guess I started with the negative one.
All right, so the absolute value of -1, you got to be 1. And so if I copy everything around it, I have -4 times 1. I've taken this absolute value away. And so then I have absolute value, 2 minus 4 times 1. And then I now have 2 absolute values left.
Okay, I was like after that, get one, and I got one answer is added.
And I think actually, let's see, I've got inside, I've got outside. Oh, I should have had one more absolute value. Maybe that threw people off. I'm sorry. Should have been one more absolute value there. But if we continue to work inside there, what's -4 times 1? -4. So we have the absolute, so we have the absolute value of 2 minus 4, which would give me -2. Then I still have 3 plus this, and I still have 2 minus this. And I still have that one on the outside. Now, if you continue to work inside, as soon as I find the absolute value of 1, I cross it off. What's the absolute value of -2? 2. So I've found that. And I have the absolute value of 3 plus 2. And then I have 2 minus this. What's 3 plus 2? 5. What's the absolute value of 5? 5. So that becomes 5. And then I have the absolute value of 2 minus 5. What's 2 minus 5? -3. What's the absolute value of -3? 3. That is a challenging one, but I apologize. I should have had one more little bar there, so I probably confused you guys. I apologize for that. But the point of the story is work inward to outward. So as soon as you find an inside absolute value, maybe cross it off. Now, I won't give you one quite that challenging, but you do have one in your book like letter F. So if you could do that real challenging one, or if you could kind of follow along with how that was done, you should be able to handle ones like letter F. Speaking of, your homework tonight is out of your book. So if you left your book in your locker, I know we haven't touched it yet, but tonight's homework, you're going to actually open up the page. You'll have questions. You still have given solutions online. I believe you still have odd solutions in the back of your book. Sometimes they're the same. I just give you the odd solution so you don't have to constantly flip back and forth in your book. Sometimes I'll give you solutions a little bit different. But homework is out of the book tonight. Also, I do want to show you guys on campus because I know I haven't had a chance to show you that yet. Where do I want to go? Right here. I want to show you guys, so you might be thinking, we're getting through a few sections. When is our first quiz? Under topics, I always have your calendar, so the predicted schedule, and sometimes I change it, but this one, it's up to date. So if you are ever wondering when is going to be our next quiz, when is going to be our next test, what's coming up, you can see today is August 24th. We are working in P2B. This is the homework out of the book. Tomorrow, we're going to be working with rules of exponents. You do need to bring your Surface. We're going to be having an assignment through quizzes.com, and there's going to be some group work tomorrow. When is your first quiz in here? Do you see it in red? September 1st/2nd. So you guys are 5th period. You'll have it on the 2nd. So I will update that a few days prior to when your assessment is. But in case you are a planner, you want to know when is that next assessment, what sections will it cover? I generally always have it under the calendar, and I put that in topics. So you kind of have that available and you can see where we're moving in Algebra 2. Any questions? All right. Well, you guys can go ahead and pack up. We are done. When are we out of here? 20. Ooh, we have 3 minutes.